Hi, Jeremy.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Nice to
Okay.
be here.
I want to start in the beginning. You grew up in Kommetjie
Yeah,
in
that's right.
South Africa.
Yeah, I forgot that you people here are actually able to pronounce how to say it.
What was it like growing up there?
Yeah, it was growing up in Cape Town in general, I think is a very beautiful place to grow up. But Kommetjie is a very special little town. It's right by the sea, and it's about 45 minutes out of the city, and it's beautiful there. So, yeah, I grew up from a young age. I think I was surfing from like 7 onwards and skateboarding around the city, and I don't think I wore shoes until I was about 14. You know, I had a really idyllic lifestyle there growing up as a kid. My parents had left the city when they were young lovers to kind of build a family in this small little town by the sea.
Sure.
So I didn't really know any different, but I got to really grow up in a very beautiful small town setting and spending lots of time with my friends, like just gallivanting, cruising around, you know, living quite like wild and free for a bunch of kids, I suppose.
What was the musical atmosphere like? Was
Well,
there a lot of music?
No, I mean, look, there was always music in my life, and my family, my mom and dad were always playing music around the house, and I always was, you know, like singing and dancing around the house whenever I could. But Kommetjie didn't really have any music scene. It's they say Kommetjie is a fishing village with a drinking problem, or a drinking village with a fishing problem, because there's not much else that happens there other than there's lots of fishermen from the village, and there are a couple of pubs and bars down by the one side of the village, but otherwise there's nothing. There's no big shops or shopping centers. There's only 2,000 people that live there, so there was no music scene to speak of at all growing up there. And if I wanted to hear any music, it would be traveling to the city. When I was a teenager, I would start traveling to go and watch bands that I liked, and to go and, like, you know, listen to big bands maybe who flew in from other countries to come and perform at the stadium. You know, I'd get tickets and go and see the show.
Is there one that sticks out? One show you went to?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I remember going to see UB40 when I was like 13 or 14. And that was the first time I'd ever been to, I think, the stadium to watch a big band play. And my parents used to play UB40 around the house, so I had like my favorite songs, and I was just a small kid, but I remember that really sticks out as my first memory of going to a stadium show with my parents and having my dad lift me up so that I could see over the crowd, and yeah, it was really cool.
And when did you start to think that you wanted to make your own music as well?
It was not until much later in my life. I don't think I ever really thought of music as an option for a career for me. And I was always a creative kid, you know. In school I was doing lots of arts and drama, and I really enjoyed, I was a good painter. I enjoyed painting and drawing. And I really didn't enjoy things like maths and science very much at all. And so much so that when I finished high school and I went traveling for a couple of years, I traveled all around the world because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what the next move was. Should I study, or should I try and, at the time I thought maybe I could do graphic design or something like this. Maybe I'd go and work for an advertising agency, but I had no idea. And so I decided instead to go travel. And during those 2 years of traveling, I decided that I needed to get myself some more business skills. I needed to understand a little bit about, you know, business, so that I could have a better chance of success in this corporate world that we live in. And so I went back to university and I did a business degree, and it took me 4 years to get my honors, and I ended up doing a BSc in property development and finance, of all things.
Well, what you say is quite interesting, because you didn't think that a career in music, in something creative that you liked doing and you were good at, that wasn't possible. And so was that difficult for you to kind of accept or acknowledge that the corporate side of life?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably something that most young creative kids battle with, and probably I think even the kids who aren't that creative, I think young people in general all have the same problem where they know that they have to make a career for themselves, or they have to make money somehow, they have to survive. And so what is it going to be? Like, what are they going to do with their time? And how do they mix what they are going to do with what they want to do? Like, do those worlds come together? And some kids are maybe lucky. Maybe from a young age they already knew that they love to do something. But I think those are the rare exceptions.
Sure.
I think most youngsters don't have a clue what they want to do because they haven't done anything yet in the work world. So how can they know what feels nice and what doesn't? That's certainly how I felt. I knew I couldn't make a decision as to what I wanted to do because I hadn't done anything yet. So it just was this big, dark, scary kind of cloud. And I knew that I was good at artistic stuff, but I didn't know anyone in my life who was doing well from arts.
Sure.
You know, the artists that I knew were generally hardly getting by and not selling many paintings, and it wasn't a particularly glamorous life. And one thing that I did know from a young age was that I wanted to travel a lot. I really had these very global ambitions. I wanted to travel all around the world, and I wanted to see the world. And so that's why when I finished school, I did my sailing courses. I did a whole bunch of tickets to get my sailing skills up. And I got onto a little boat in Cape Town that was sailing to the Caribbean, and it took me 2 months on the ocean to get to the Caribbean. And that was the beginning of a 2-year adventure that I went on from ages 17 to 19.
And you weren't making music at this point?
No, not at all. I hadn't even picked up a guitar at this point. I was just exploring, and the first time I really picked up a guitar was while I was overseas. During those 2 years, I met a guy somewhere in the States who was a guitarist, and he helped me purchase my first guitar, which was from a pawn shop in Miami. I bought this like black Johnson guitar, acoustic guitar, and he would give me lessons down by the dock, and he was a really nice guy. I can't even remember his name now, but he came out of nowhere and taught me a few lessons and then left again, and I didn't get hooked on the guitar then. That was just the first guitar that I got myself when I was 19. And then I decided I'd been traveling for 2 years already. I knew I had to come back and make some decisions about what I was going to do with my career or my life.
Sure.
And I still didn't really see a gap for anything in the creative space because I think South Africa maybe also has its own set of challenges in that we don't have a very developed the world of arts, you know, even the music industry is much smaller than the music industry is over here. We don't have big record labels and big press agencies and publishers and all the different aspects of the music world that can support an artist's career. And so as a young musician growing up in the UK or in America, you know that if you can write that great song or get those songs and get a little name for yourself, maybe you get spotted by one of the big record labels, and then you have a clear path to like success. You know, they can help you get there.
Right.
In South Africa, there's nothing like that. So it all comes down to your own resourcefulness. You know, how resourceful can you be and pull it all together. So I decided the most likely chance I had was to do something in the business world, just to kind of get my head around understanding the corporate side of life, and so that's what I did.
When then did the moment come that you thought, you know, this corporate side is all fine and well, but I can't do this. I have to go for.
Well, it happened pretty soon after I started the degree. I think it was in my first year that I was getting so frustrated with having to learn economics and accounting and statistics and all these really difficult subjects that I picked up my guitar again. And I actually just became completely obsessed with my guitar. I think I must have been playing probably 6 hours a day. You know, every day when I finished lectures, I was just at home on my computer watching YouTube and on my guitar practicing and learning cover songs, and just basically for the first time in my life being properly obsessed with something. And I think it happened actually as a direct result of doing the business degree, because it was doing those tough subjects that I didn't enjoy that actually forced me to have a creative outlet.
The juxtaposition.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of like that kind of work, and I just had this incredible desire to make music and learn the guitar and just express creation, you know. And I think also at that stage I hadn't been doing much, you know, I'd been drawing and painting a lot through my high school career because that's what I was good at. I was always good at art. And so in high school, I focused a lot of time on that. And so that was my creative outlet.
Sure.
And then when I was traveling, I was reading a lot, but I wasn't doing anything particularly creative until I got to university. And then I was doing business, and all of a sudden I think my creative side just went crazy. It was like, that's it, like you need to start doing something. And guitar was what I found, and it just stuck with me. And I think for those 4 years of doing my degree, I was playing every day, like non-stop, just racking up hours and learning everything I could learn, and only going to the bare minimum of my lectures and putting the bare minimum of effort to kind of get through my degree at the same time.
When then did songwriting come into it? Because you say you kind of get obsessed with the guitar, but and you mentioned the word creative outlet. So in terms of songwriting, when did you start to formulate thoughts onto paper?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a different period. It was because during university, all I was doing was learning. I also I bought myself my first harmonicas there, and I started learning harmonica.
Okay.
And I also bought my loop pedal. I think in my last year of university, I bought the loop pedal. And I didn't know anything for sure, but I knew by the time I finished my honors degree that I was not going to do anything in the corporate world with my degree. And the reason I continued to do it is because I was learning such important things. Like I knew that no matter what I was going to do in my life, I needed to understand some basic law. And just as well, because I have to sign like 20 different contracts every year now in music, there's lawyers and contracts like you won't believe. And it's been really nice to be able to read my own contracts, know what they say, hire lawyers when I need them to help me. I think a lot of artists don't make it out of the gate in music because they get caught in bad deals or taken advantage of. You hear the horror stories all the time.
Sure.
So I kind of put up with my degree because I knew I needed those skills, even just to understand my own tax and accounting. So they were useful. But at the time, all I was really doing was exploring my music. When I finished my degree, I just said to my parents and everyone, look, I'm not going to look for a job at all. I'm going to go traveling again. I'm going to take my music with me. I'm going to make music on the road and see where the road takes me. And so I just set out traveling again, and I found myself getting a job on a boat in Europe, in Italy.
Okay.
And I stayed on that boat for 2 years, and it sailed all around the world. It was beautiful. I got to see, I think, over 40 different countries and did 3 Atlantic crossings, and just really got to explore a lot of the world, which was kind of always one of my dreams from being young. But also the other thing was during those 2 years, I didn't have any opportunity for like much socializing with friends. You know, my friends back in South Africa were all busy having parties and having fun, and I was on a boat on my own a lot of the time and working during the day, and then in the evening having the whole night with no distractions, just to make music and to come up with my own ideas, which is what I was doing. I was reading a lot and writing a lot, and that's to your question when I started songwriting, was during those 2 years. And for those 2 years I wrote like crazy, and I didn't even know what I was writing. I just came up with stuff. I tried to put things together. I was doing that's where I started beatboxing, and then started doing beatbox on the harmonica, and then started beatbox harmonica looping. And so I was just starting to build things, and by the time I came back from those 2 years and got back to Cape Town, I just played some music for some of my friends, for my friends and family, and everyone was blown away. They were like, these are amazing. When did you write these songs? And I was like, some of the things I was doing while I was away.